Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to give you my thoughts on Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. Now, I've been a Godzilla fan all my life, lifelong fan, since I was a baby, and still he and the franchise is one of my greatest passions to this day. And I've thoroughly enjoyed pretty much every part of the MonsterVerse, starting with 2014, which I think is a great film. Really like Kong Skull Island, of course. Godzilla King of the Monsters is my personal favorite, and really liked Godzilla vs. Kong as well. Not to mention Monarch, which I really liked, and even the Skull Island anime, for as connected or not connected as that was. And I've been anticipating this quite a bit. A new Godzilla movie to me is like my Star Wars for other people, okay? Now, I really, of course, liked -1 a few months ago, but I think we're in the golden age, the past like 10 years or so, of being a Godzilla fan. Um, and it just bothers me when people get like elitist or kind of camp over the same franchise, because, Toho has, gets a cut of what goes on here too. And they celebrate the legendary MonsterVerse's success as well. But the thing is, just the people that say, oh, these movies are shit compared to what -1 did, or -1 showed them how to do it. If you know the franchise at all, or if you've ever loved the franchise at any other point, ever since the 60s, they've had a rich variety of films, from serious, really human and like, thematic driven films like the original Gojira, or like Godzilla -1 recently. But I've also had, out of this world, zany, more straightforward fun movies, with all the versus films in the 60s and 70s, Flashes in the High Sea, and even the Millennium era had, kind of just more simple, straightforward, entertaining films, monster mashes as well. And to me, speaking as a lifelong fan, this is essentially like a modern Showa era film. And like, sure, I may prefer like the more serious, like daunting, even by comparison, like more of the style of like 2014 and King of the Monsters. This one's a little, sillier, probably even more so than Godzilla vs. Kong. But again, I can appreciate their approach and style of this as well, and I think it's great the franchise has always enjoyed a rich variety of all sorts of, Godzilla films. And they both had their place, so I don't know why the internet, certain people on the internet, really go to war over it. It's just not needed. But anyway, mild rant over. I really, really enjoyed Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. A bit more than I was expecting, actually, and I knew I was going to like it, just automatically. By the way, the MonsterVerse Godzilla is probably my favorite version of the character at this point. They've made, like, little adjustments to his design with every, like, new film, little by little. And here, I think it works, too. They make him more agile and compact, so he's able to move faster, but he's just as strong. And the, more jagged spines remind me a lot of Godzilla 2000, with the coloring and everything, too. Godzilla 2000 was my favorite Japanese film since I was a kid, so I don't mind that at all. The movie falls under, like, just a little 2 hours, just a little under 2 hours. If anything, I think it could have been longer. It would have taken like 2 hours and 15 or 2.5 hours. Like, some things do feel like they kind of, you want to spend more time kind of like wallowing or, marinating in, certain situations. But on the other hand, I appreciate that it moves at like a pretty breakneck pace. Of course, we find out more about the Hollow Earth, which they've been building, for, a good few films now. Discovering that, oh wait, Kong actually isn't the last of his kind, but like long, long ago, Godzilla had imprisoned this Scar King, this, tyrant over the apes, along with a few of his older, thugs, essentially. And he's been plotting this, rise back to the surface for a while now. And of course, Kong ends up discovering a little one. And essentially, all hell breaks loose over Kong trying to like free the more enslaved apes. And Godzilla's brought in because, of course, it's going to become a threat to the surface and the the world as a whole. So Godzilla has to intervene at some point. So I think that was tied together well. Again, it's something that's kind of been explored more and more with every film, so I thought it made sense. Sure, I love seeing, you know, kaiju like, you know, King Ghidorah and King of the Monsters and Rodan and Mothra and everything. But at the same time, I can appreciate when they make their own original monsters too. Um, the film is loaded with a lot of wild, you know, kaiju action. It's visually really enjoyable. It's definitely visually probably the most like color popping of the MonsterVerse. And again, it feels really appropriate to call it like a modern Showa era style film, and that spirit is definitely there. That energy, and the film was just a blast to me. Where does it rank in the MonsterVerse? I think I have to sit on that a little bit. But I think it's probably in my top 3 of the MonsterVerse, and probably somewhere in my top 10 of the Godzilla franchise as a whole. I enjoyed it that much. You know, Colin, of course, we see a lot from his perspective. I think it's accurate to say that he's kind of the main character in this movie. And I don't just mean that compared to Godzilla, I mean like even compared to the humans. Colin gets more screen time than ever. And that's kind of answering what people would want, you know, showing just more from the monster's perspective about the humans always being around. And I think that worked really well here, and how expressive and emotive Colin is able to get. I don't think people give Godzilla enough credit for the bits of nuance he's actually had with this iteration of the character over the course of the MonsterVerse, like with Serizawa and that moment with Ford in the 2014 film. But nonetheless, it still works seeing so much of it from Colin's perspective, especially with the storyline of Scar King. But don't get me wrong, Godzilla definitely still gets plenty of shining moments throughout the movie, some kills and everything like that. And there's sort of another kaiju element, kaiju return, I'll say, that was really pleasing, and it works really well to add to the movie. It was really great to see. And then this other sort of villainous kaiju called Shimo, which is, for one reason or another, you know, allied with Scar King. Shimo, I think, is another great original kaiju. I really liked her. I believe she's the female kaiju. Just felt different. I like that with the MonsterVerse. They show, like, even like the random creatures you'll see in the Hollow Earth, they remind you of something in our world, like in reality, but then they have like this kind of weird like twist about them, and I think it's really cool. The film is just really imaginative. That's another word I'd use for it, and it has this thing that distinguishes it, I think, from other MonsterVerse films. It has this like adventure movie feel to it, which I thought was, you know, really cool and a lot of fun, and kept it very, very engaging. Like even more so than Kong Skull Island, this one felt like an adventure, and just spending the time at Hollow Earth, it feels pretty unique. But yeah, I really loved Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. It's probably gonna be my favorite movie of the year, just as Godzilla vs. Kong was a couple years back. So yeah, if I had to rate it, I'm giving it, like, you know, sure, the human element is what it is. It's more for exposition than anything. But like I said, you can have your -1s, you can have your new empires. There's nothing wrong about preferring either one. And I probably enjoyed this more. But like I said, I still really liked -1. There's room for all of it. But, you know, it's still more for exposition. I will say, though, it was nice having Rebecca Hall back, and Dan Stevens, who I liked in Beauty and the Beast and Walking on the Tombstones. I went to see The Guest as well. He's actually pretty charming here as this, like, you know, trapper. His name's Trapper, and he's like this researcher, and he sort of helps with you know, certain, you know, tooth problem at one point. I actually thought he was, you know, decently endearing for while he was there. Brian Tyree Henry, you know, kind of playing that. He was in Godzilla vs. Kong. He seems to play pretty similar characters in a lot of things, but still not a bad presence. And her name is slipping me at the moment, but the girl who plays the child with the connection to Kong from the previous film, she's good here again too. But yeah, if I had to rate it, I'm giving it an A-. I just am. I'm sorry, guys. I enjoy things. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.